Welcome to Learn How to Paint in Acrylics. My name is Michael Pickett and I'll be your instructor. Well, today's lesson will be a brown bear. Well, let's go to my studio and I'll show you how it's done. I'll see you there. Hello, welcome to my studio. We're finishing up the drawing of the brown bear. We're going to take some burnt sienna and plenty of water. We're going to cover that whole canvas. We're going to take our cotton sock and we're going to wipe enough of that paint off. Our goal is to let that pencil show through the paint. Now we'll start out with the eye first. Start out with the black. We're going to put in the pupil. Now we're going to outline the eye. We're also going to take that burnt sienna. We're going to put in the iris and we're going to blend it all together. We'll put in his eyebrow, and now we'll shadow in with some burnt sienna. We'll add some white into the burnt sienna for some highlights, and then we'll take that white and we'll add it to the eye as a reflected light over on the left side. We'll continue filling that in around the eye, and we're doing a lot of blending. You really don't want to have any sharp lines because you're working with a lot of fur. We'll add some more white up to the top. Now we'll blend it in. We're going to blend in some burnt sienna and white right next to his eye. Now we're going to work on his nose. Now we're going to start out with the black. We're going to fill in the nostrils first. We're going to outline the nose. and take our burnt sienna and we'll go ahead and add it in there with a little black. We'll create a gray, kind of a warm gray. To do some highlighting, we're going to have a touch of white, bring it up around, and we'll frame it in. Now we'll add more highlights. We're also going to take that burnt sienna for the fur behind his nose. And we'll add some more highlights. We'll go ahead and fill that in. We'll put some more white down underneath his nose. Now we'll add more highlights to the bottom of his nose. We'll create a texture and we'll add some more black and we'll blend it in. We'll work alongside of his mouth just a little bit. Okay, we're going to add some white and burnt sienna to the top of his nose. We're going to add more white onto the top. Now we're going to work our way down between the eye and the nose and create a reflection of light on the side of his nose. We'll start in with our black. We'll outline a little bit of the bottom of the nose. We'll take our white and we'll add it to that to create a gray, and we'll just fill that part of it in. And we'll take some burnt sienna and white and we'll go back to the side of his nose. We're going to add more highlights to the bottom of his nose now. We just kind of go back and forth. Alright, now we're going to work on his mouth. We're going to start out with our black, We're going to fill in on the inside of his mouth. And we're going to take some white, burnt sienna and black, and we're going to fill in the tongue. Now we'll switch to our number 0 brush, outline around the teeth, and we'll work on a little bit of detail. We'll create all our shadows first. We're going to get all that filled in. Then we'll blend it in. We'll just bring it out. We're going to add some black to the back of the tongue. Now we're going to blend it forward. We're going to take some black and white and create a gray. And we're going to work on the bottom part of his mouth. Create the gum line. We're going to add a little more white, and we're going to do some highlights. Now we're going to build his teeth. I'm going to add some white and some gray. We're going to put that in there first. Then we're going to take the white over the top of that. We're going to place it in there. It makes the teeth look round. And with the reflected light on the teeth, it makes it look wet. Now we'll take some black and we will shadow in on the inside of his cheek. I'm going to highlight the teeth and make it look wet. Now we're going to add a little more shadow around the teeth. We're going to take some white and we're going to highlight where the light's reflecting. Yeah, we're going to take our white and we're going to create about 6 teeth in the front. And we're going to darken it around his lips. We're going to shadow around his tongue on the bottom and around the teeth, and that'll make the teeth show up a little more on his tongue. Add some more white to the teeth because that'll make it look wet and give the teeth more of a realistic look. going to highlight the teeth and around the teeth, and that'll make the teeth show up a little more. And we're going to work on his cheek on the side of his mouth. I'm going to fill that in with black and burnt sienna. I'm going to set it off into the background a little bit. We're going to lighten it up towards the top. We're going to blend it in towards the bottom. We're going to darken it to separate his cheek from the body. Okay, yeah, we'll work on his chin for a little bit. I'm going to add some black and burnt sienna. And we'll go ahead and get a little bit of white. We'll highlight it with the brown. And we're going to highlight around onto part of his cheek. And we're going to add some black onto the inside of his mouth, just a touch. Now we'll take some white and we'll highlight the fangs. After that, we'll go up to the nose and we'll go ahead and highlight it. Okay. We're going to work on the undercoat of the fur. We're going to use white burnt sienna and black and use your number 2 brush. So we'll start out with the burnt sienna and white. We'll take mostly white and we'll start at the top of the head and we'll start painting down. And as we're painting, we will start adding our burnt sienna into the white. Start filling it in the side of his mouth, into his cheek, underneath his eye. And over towards his ears. Now we're going to change over to our number 10 brush. We're going to get some black and burnt sienna, but mostly black. We're going to start filling in the bottom on his chest of his fur. We're going to start there and we're going to work our way up. We're going to go up around the side of his face, up to his eye, and up to his ear, around his head. We're going to fill in the ear. We're going to take some white. We're going to highlight some burnt sienna and white, the top of his ear, and we're going to frame that in. Now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to black out the background. We're going to add a lot of black to the background. We're going to mask around the bear. We're going to fill in that whole background with black. You give it a rich look. Now we're going to use our fan brush and some white and brown, and we're going to create the fur, starting with the side of his face, and work our way over to the mouth and start working our way down, and we'll create highlights to where the fur is sticking out. You always have to start out with your dark colors first. When you add your light colors on top of your dark colors, it just creates a more realistic look. There you go. Now we'll start creating the fur going over the background. That gives it the optical illusion that it's fur. Now you move around to the side of the face, and you do the same thing, and you blend at the same time. Bring the fur over the top of the background, and it looks more like fur. Now we'll work on the side of the face. Make that a little bit brighter. We'll start doing some detail. With your fan brush and a little bit of black, start working underneath his chin. Move over to the side of his face. Now go all the way to the side of his head. We're going to fill all that in. And we're going to do some highlights over the top of the dark areas that we created. Now we're going to work on our detail. Just look at your photograph. Now whatever you see in your photograph, you go ahead and place in, creating the detail for the rest of the face. Now we're going to take our brilliant blue, we're going to add some blue highlights to just the edge of his fur. Now we're going to get a little bit of white, and we're going to create more fur and detail with your zero brush. Do all the finishing touches. Work with your burnt sienna white. You can switch back and forth between your brushes. Soften it up over towards the top of his head and around the ears. Alongside of his nose and his cheek and the side of his head. Just blend all that in. You have to remember, think of it as creating a blur, because you have to make it really soft. Okay, just a few more highlights here and there. Now we're going to sign the painting. And after we sign the painting, we're going to paint the edges of the canvas black to give it a finished look. This is only optional. There we go. There's the brown bear. Now that's how you do a painting of a brown bear, courtesy of the Wildlife Safari in Winston, Oregon. Well, until next time, happy painting. Bye.